uncomfortable topic, and recently it's become more of a buzzword. Probably your ears perked up at the sound of it, or you might have even cringed. But that's kind of the problem. It's not something we need to cringe at. It's not a dirty word, and it's not something we should be scared of. And chances are, if you cringed at it, you're the reason we need to be talking about it. In 8th grade, I had to sign a purity pledge. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you're basically signing over your virginity to God. They give you a little white candle, have you sign a card, and say, I'm not going to have sex until marriage. Which seems harmless. I mean, you're 14, not like you're worried about it anyway. But it's a lot easier to sign a card as an 8th grader than to keep the pledge as a high schooler. It's an awkward topic, and often we're left with conversations like the talk, or the birds and the bees, which honestly isn't helpful living as a bird and a bee. And for something that parents seem primarily worried about, they don't like talking to us about it. So freshman year, I started wondering, why aren't these purity pledges working? Everybody seems so eager and comfortable and like it would just be something simple. But I was naive. I was just worried about the consequences of sex. STDs, pregnancy, slut-shaming for giving it up. And since I went to a Catholic school, they didn't have sex ed for obvious reasons. But it was nowhere to be found in high school. So I started to get curious. Why is no one talking about this? The same way uninformed voters can make detrimental decisions to our country, uninformed adolescents can make detrimental decisions for themselves. It's necessary to explore this, and I'm wondering why we're not talking about sex and why we need to be. It's obviously not uncommon for a Catholic institution to not talk about sex, but in public high schools, there's no education regarding contraception, STDs, LGBTQ plus health, and they're only teaching abstinence. Schools rely on parents, and parents rely on schools. And if nobody's teaching the kids, where are they getting their information? They start to seek information from unreliable sources, like their clueless friends and the internet. My theory, if you don't know what age you should buy condoms, you shouldn't be buying condoms. Our schools are very much lacking in sexual education, and often the only lecture we get is in abstinence. Abstinence is defined as the practice of restraining oneself from indulging in something, like sex. This only leads to more problems than it solves, and we need to keep our kids safe, not stupid. By sophomore year, I had seen 3 girls pregnant in their high school careers. I was thinking, why aren't we preventing this? Why is nobody telling them how not to get pregnant so they can finish high school? Colorado law HB 13-1081 states schools aren't required to teach sexual education, and if they do, it needs to be comprehensive and scientifically accurate. And abstinence only does not count, because obviously it's not scientifically accurate and not comprehensive. There are 2 things wrong with that. 1, nobody has to teach sexual education, and 2, abstinence only doesn't count. Therefore, students suffer because they're either not receiving the information or they're getting incorrect information altogether. Some states are even receiving funding to preach abstinence only. The Abstinence Education Grant Program incentivizes that giving this bad information to kids means you get money for your school. Adolescents are therefore falling victim to the government, these random grant programs, and even their parents' beliefs and misconceptions. A healthy mind ensures a healthy future, and as the saying goes, knowledge is power, but that leaves us powerless. Texas, a well-known state advocating and promoting abstinence-only in education, if they have it at all, is also the highest teen birth rate in the country. Girls aged 15 to 19 are at 41 or higher births per 1,000 girls. Now that may sound extreme, but this proves that this less than mediocre education is also the least successful practice. Teen pregnancy is a life-altering experience and a very preventable life-altering experience. Teen moms already have so much going on in their lives, including high school, college apps, jobs, just trying to stay above the poverty line. And these things are glamorized by things like 16 and pregnant and teen mom. It's making it look fun to have a kid before you're even allowed to drink. Common implications even put the child at risk. Daughters of teenage pregnancies are 30% more likely to be teenage moms themselves. Teen moms are also commonly found to not even finish high school and live below the poverty line. This leaves us with thousands of young, poor, and uneducated girls all around the country. I mean, I barely got through this TED Talk. I don't know how I would do it if I had a crying baby that I had to change diapers. So. Pregnancy is closely followed by STDs. So even if you're a guy and you're like, I'm not going to get pregnant, this is for you. Adolescents count for 18.9 million cases of STDs, and ages 15 to 24 represent 25% of the sexually active population. But they also account for 50% of the STDs. So that means 1 in 4 teens contract a sexually transmitted disease within their sexual experimentation. Less than 40% of adults aged 18 to 44 are even tested for their infections. And because of abstinence programs, teens are often discouraged and afraid to ask questions. This sets a detrimental mindset in those who have never had sex before and neglects those who have already had sex. Abstinence makes sexually active teens feel tainted and therefore neglected, as if having sex means you're not entitled to be safe. Pregnant and parenting students are ignored and stigmatized, and therefore don't receive the information they need. They hide because of shame and embarrassment and seek information from unreliable sources like the media, where we find that you have to be 18 to buy condoms, that you can get pregnant just from sitting in a hot tub, masturbating can make you go blind, and only girls get herpes. Fun fact, none of those are true. And if you want answers to these questions, I guess you're out of luck, because nobody's going to tell you. Abstinence only doesn't equip young people to avoid sex, but it also doesn't offer support for those who've already had it. Saying don't have sex doesn't eradicate your hormones, and making you sign a purity pledge doesn't make you any less curious. 88% of kids and 85% of parents voice support for comprehensive sexual education in Colorado. So kids want to learn, and parents aren't far behind. It's very plausible and comfortable to talk about sex, and talking about it more creates openness and acceptance and empowerment within our own sexual identity. Discomfort doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it, and all of this can come together to make us an educated and safe generation. Sex is a pivotal component in our adolescent lives, and why not talk about it? Because we're squeamish, because it's icky. Just please ask questions, do your research, get tested, and remember, no glove, no love. Thank you.